Mike, if you could share with us about why you chose to have an assistant and how that's affected your business.
I just went through 2010, which was for me personally, the worst year I'd ever had. So the thought of bringing on an assistant right now, for some people, I know you're thinking, man, well, right now might not be the time to bring on an assistant. Well, I said, that's when I did it and said, hey, I think that there might be an opportunity for us to work together. And that was kind of how it came about. It was a very challenging time for me because I wasn't really making any money at all. We talked about it and we felt that, together we could bring a lot more and grow a lot more. So first of all, the real key to having a good assistant, I think, is that they need to be different people. Because I found a guy who'd been in the business for a long time and we complemented each other. And so it allows me to focus on the things that I'm very good at, which is selling and being with clients. But I think, having an assistant is huge. And so it's great because it allows you to cover a lot of stuff. In 2012, as we started getting rolling, is I actually had a tremendous amount more time, which allowed me to make more money. The comment that they say, don't waste your time doing $10 an hour stuff when you can do things that make you $100 an hour, and don't do things that make you $100 an hour if you can do something that makes you $1,000 an hour. And I really saw that come to fruition, is all of a sudden I wasn't doing all of this other stuff that was taking time away from me from doing the things that made me the most money. And I ended up making a lot more money and a couple other things. So, like you made a comment, Hammer, about duplicating your time. And that's really what it does. I end up really having almost twice as much time to do the important things. And sometimes that's drinking a margarita with my friends. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I have this client I'm working on a offer, sight unseen. So I get back last night and here's the virtual walkthrough of the house that I didn't have to do. And he did a virtual walkthrough and I sent it to him and I see my emails coming up here and I see the woman writing to me, hey, call me. I'm super excited. I want to talk about this house. And so there you go. So that allowed me to, in this case, feed people. But in a normal market, I might have been out with a buyer. I might have been out doing something more important. Or again, maybe just having a little bit more personal time. Listen, I still find myself working a lot because A, I'm a workaholic, B, I'm super competitive, and D, I like to sell a lot of real estate and I like to make a lot of money. So I'm still going to probably work harder than 95% of the people in the world. But at the same token, I'm working less than I did before, and I'm having more free time than I ever did before, and I'm enjoying my personal life more than I ever did before because I have someone there to help cover me. When before, I might have worked until 10 o'clock at night sometimes because I just felt like I could never get everything done. And so when you start to look at those things, so now we're talking about, how do you find a good assistant? Well, maybe it's another real estate agent in your market right now. Maybe it's somebody that's working for a competitor and, you know that they're not doing that well right now, but they're a really sharp person and that they would do really well. But they've done well because you've seen them selling in your community. It did really 2 or 3 things. The first thing it did is it took my biggest competitor out of the market. So all of a sudden the guy taking a whole bunch of sales away from me because we would be like, we'd see each other at a bar and he's like, I'm working with Peter, the Polish guy. I'm like, no, I'm working with Peter, the Polish guy. And we're laughing about that because Peter bounced around to every damn agent in Costa Rica. But all of a sudden, we're not fighting for the same client, right? He's not taking clients from me. So I took my biggest competitor out of the market and brought him into REMAX. And then, of course, it helped me grow my business and grow my brand, as I just explained. So maybe you're looking at an agent that, works in your town. Maybe it's the one-man show or the one-woman show, and they do a few deals, but they're really sharp. And you think, man, this might be the person that I could bring in. Maybe we have a lot of retired people here that are looking for something to do. And there's a lot of retired real estate agents. I can think of 5 or 6 in our town that I know told me, man, I sold real estate for 20 years. And maybe they're itching to do something, maybe especially now with the coronavirus, would be a great time to reach out to that person so they have some experience in real estate and they're a little bit older. Maybe they're a little bit older than you. So, okay, which brings some credibility to you if you were a younger agent, okay? And vice versa. If you're an older agent, maybe finding somebody a little bit younger. So you've got that. Also, there's just people right now in our community that are struggling and they would be really, really sharp. So maybe it's somebody there. Maybe, and I'll use another example, it's somebody that's, in the office. So you decide to become an agent and an assistant. And that's what happened with Michael Mills and Chris. And I said, I'm telling you, you and Chris are going to be fantastic. And anybody that's watched over the last 2 or 3 years, Mike Mills's production has shot up. And that's, you know, I can't say 100% because of Chris, but 100% because Chris and Mike Mills became a team, for sure. And again, everybody right now, things are a little bit challenging, and we realize that. But Chris brought so much to the table. And if you look at what Chris and Mike Mills are doing, I mean, really, they do some of the best marketing of anybody in the entire country of Costa Rica. So, you know, just to finish up here, and then I'll get up because we're running out of time. But I think, you know, a lot of you are at the stage in your career where you're working really, really hard. And there's always been the famous saying, work smart, not hard. And so many of you are just working hard, and you're trying to do all this stuff and still have a personal life. And it might be worth looking to either bring another agent on board from another office to be your assistant. But I think right now too, there's so many great people in our town whose little businesses are closed, their little restaurants, their little coffee shops, or whatever, who would be super, super sharp. And we have a lot of retirees. And they're not 75, some of them are 75, but most of my retirees are down here at 55 to 60. They're young people, they're not old. And a lot of them would be a fantastic assistant for you that you could bring on, that wouldn't need a lot of money up front because they're retired. They already have whatever money they had to retire. They have their pension, they have their Social Security, whatever they have, right? So they don't need a ton of money. So you could bring them on board with a little bit, give them a little bit of salary every month and a percentage of your deals, and start to bring them on board. And we can talk a little bit later. If someone wants to call me or write to me, we can talk about percentages, you know, a percentage for someone that's an existing person that's doing great, you know, all that kind of stuff. Somebody like that retired real estate agent, I don't know if I'd give them 25% right out of the gun, because again, they're not bringing something to the table. Chris brought something to the table for Michael Mills because he was already a real estate agent. Another real estate agent at Century 21, if you brought them over, they're bringing something, they're bringing their buyers, they're bringing their listings. So he brought a lot to the table, right? And so that person might be worth 25%. The retired person that's part-time, or the person that owns the gym that you bring in, maybe you start them out at 10%. And say, okay, I'll give you 10% of everything I make, and then we'll grow it. And if I'm making 50 grand now, when I get to 100, I'll give you 15%. If I can get to $250,000, then I'll give you 25%. So that they're helping you grow your business, and they have that incentive to make more money. So, you know, those are things that we can discuss, and those are things that, you know, there's not necessarily a cut rule. But that would be my thought right now. And I think a lot of you right now, this would be the time you could train the person. You have the time to train them. You have the time to spend with them. You have the time to teach them. Well, in 5 or 6 months, as this whole market comes back, we're going to be so busy. And I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you're an idiot. We are going to be slammed with people. There are so many people coming, emailing constantly, that now is the time to maybe look at getting that assistant so you can build this stuff up, build your personal website, do these videos, work on things. Okay, you're going to do the listings. I'm going to do the showings. You know, work your whole plan out. Okay, don't need to pay them a lot of money. Maybe you don't pay them anything right now. You just say, come on board. And when I start to get rolling, we'll start it in December, so that then by the time everything is rocking and rolling, you guys are in place and ready to go. So that would be a, don't wait till you're like, okay, now I'm making money and I'm going to get that assistant, because you might be too busy to do it. And you're going to lose this opportunity to really, really capitalize on the time that we have right now. We do have a lot of time. So everybody needs to be taking advantage of this time to do all these things that we're talking about, whether it be with an assistant or not. Take advantage of having this time to be building your website and doing your videos and all that kind of stuff.
When you're not making a lot of money and you're kind of plateauing, to take on somebody and to take that risk of that new investment, or, you know, even as an agent, you know, the mentality is less agents, the better. Well, actually, that's not true. It's not true at all. The more agents inside our network means that our network is stronger. The fact that we have an office in Ojochal, and we have an office in Escazú, and we have an office in, you know, Playa Panama, and we have an office in Jaco, I mean, that makes our network way stronger. And the same concept can be scaled down to your business and your team. You build a team. Well, you know what? Having an agent who speaks, you know, French, well, what all of a sudden your market is opened up to all of the Canadians that speak French. Mike, you have something else to add?
So it's important as the agent, you know, people write to me all the time, man, great video, Mike, great flyer. You got to let the guy know too that he's doing a great job, because I'm getting all the credit. Okay, now the people that really know me, like all my investors that are here, You know, my people that are building spec houses, and they all know. And, you know, if it wasn't for you, Mike wouldn't be anything without you. But that's 5% of my clients. The 95%, they don't have any idea until they get here. But they tell me how great all this stuff is all the time. And so it's very important that you let that person know that they are important, and, you know, see those comments. And, you know, and again, we sit down, I don't want to say every week, but we sit down every couple weeks and ties that list, because things just add up. I need a listing. I got to do an inventory. I got to do this. I got to do that. I gotta do this and that. So we sit down every week or two when the list gets long, and we prioritize. There's 32 things on the list. I'm like, okay, these are the first 10. Do these 10. Okay, just do those 10, and then we'll get to the rest of the list, because something that just happened today might be way more important than something that's been sitting on the table for a week. And when you start to get busy, you got to prioritize. So that's another thing too, to make sure that you're sitting down regularly, you know, with your assistant or with your team, and prioritizing what needs to be done now, what needs to be done tomorrow, what really can wait a week or 10 days. That's not that important. And sometimes all 8 of these have to happen now. And he's like, okay, you know, and he just goes and he gets it done. And then there's other times that, well, you know, we got a little bit of breathing room and it's not that important. So, you know, don't worry about it, you know, have a great day, go home early, whatever. But for the most part, that's also super important, that you're communicating with each other about what's important. And of course that, you know, you're letting your assistant know and your team know that they're super important and that you couldn't do it without them. And I would say that Chris and Mills would say the same thing. I mean, they're joined at the hip now, and, you know, there's no possible way that they're not going to separate. They're just too important to each other. So like I said earlier, there's some great real estate agents out there, and, you know, maybe they're in your office already and they're not making as much money as they would like. Maybe they're your competitor, and here's a chance to get that person out of the market and bring them in under you as an assistant or part of Kim's team. So those things to look at, and now's the time to approach them, right? Because there's not a whole ton going on for them. And we were kind of like, you know, how can we make some money? I think that, I don't remember exactly, but it just kind of, us just kind of ended up going to have a beer at Bosque Del Mar, I remember, and just kind of, we were both kind of starving to death. I mean, there was nothing going on in early 2011. And we were just kind of talking about, you doing any deals? I'm like, well, not really. You doing any deals? Oh, not really. Well, how can we do some deals, and what can we do? And then we worked together on exclusive listings. I mean, when he was with Century 21, we would talk and we would say, do not tell that guy, we're not selling your open listing. We don't care. And we rounded up the realtors in town, and we just boycotted open listings. And we all told them, no, give the listing to somebody. I don't care. Just give it to an agent. We're not going to sell your open listing. So going back to the earliest days, their quote, as a team in the industry, just do things for our town and our industry that was going to benefit real estate agents, not cutting our commissions. You know, when someone would be like, oh, I'll do it for 5 or 4.5, I'd call them up. What are you, an idiot? You're taking money out of our pocket. Everybody, it's 6%, not even 5.9. We don't care. Stick to your guns. And, you know, we have to do that even now. We you know, as a group, we're kind of, REMAX is the leader. You know, we have our competitors, they call us for advice. How do we do this? How do we do that? Because they know we're the leaders in the industry, right? So this is really a great time for you to be reaching out to some of those potential people that maybe you're thinking about. And again, maybe they don't need a whole lot of money right now, but you could bring them on board with, you know, some kind of goal setting plan. So
thank you so much, Mike and Kim. And, you know, these guys are available. Both of them, I think, would be fine with you giving them a call or emailing them or, you know, asking them questions. So feel free to reach out.